A viral video has sparked debate about police conduct and accountability. In this Law Matters segment, we're going to unpack the legal implications of what the law requires in situations like these. With me now are Khalil Parker KC, President of the Bahamas Bar Association, and Miranda Adderley, Chair of the Bahamas Criminal Bar Committee. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning.
Yeah, and Happy New Year. I think this is your first time on the show for 2026, right?
Indeed.
And you started the legal year. Is that how you say it?
Open the legal year.
Open the legal year.
Yes.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, every year it's important that we rededicate ourselves to the purpose of justice and the rule of law.
Okay.
And the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and myself, after the formal ceremonies, you see us parade down Bay Street.
Yes.
We have church services of dedication and renewal. And we account for the year that has gone by.
Okay.
And we project what we hope to achieve in the coming year.
Oh,
and
that's
so
awesome.
it's important that the people understand that we are working for them.
Yes.
And so it's a presentation to the public.
I love that. Okay, awesome. So this is a hot topic. This video has gone viral involving one of our police officers and a tourist, right? When you think about tourism being our #1 industry and a police officer, I mean, just tell us about this. What concerns do you have?
Well, again, we are a tourist destination, and again, it is about the image of the nation and the integrity of a significant institution in the delivery of justice and enforcing the law.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things I like to begin at the start. The incident is under investigation.
Right.
But I think that in order to restore and maintain public confidence, we have to demonstrate the way we approach these issues, and to make sure that people have confidence not only in vetting, but investigation and removing the proverbial bad apples. Right. So I think that we need to spend some time, as opposed to saying, you know, the bunch is not spoiled by one bad apple. We have to spend some time telling the public and setting out to the public how we handle incidents like this at every level of government, at every level of public life. This is an example of one officer who was caught on camera in a compromising situation. But we have concerns more broadly. And one of the things I said at the opening is that we have to demonstrate our public integrity infrastructure.
Right.
And this highlights that. The people should know, well, he's going to end up before X, and this is going to happen. And that's the fundamental issue.
Right.
I'll turn over to Miranda for some of the specifics.
Well, Miranda, I want to know from you, though, you know, from a legal standpoint, what stood out to you when you saw that video?
Well, what stood out to me as a criminal practitioner, I have a lot of clients who come to me and they say, you know, I'm being accused of this offense, but I didn't do it. And the persons who have done it, the police are familiar with, the police have taken money from, the police have gotten bribes from, and they have not charged them, they've charged me instead. And I believe the clients, but if I go to the court with that story, they look at me as if I'm crazy. So now, with the introduction of technology and the meta glasses, we can see that these stories are not so far-fetched. So here it is now. There are instances where allegedly these things are occurring, and I think the public has to be aware and be open-minded to the plight of persons who may be oppressed in certain situations. That's what was highlighted to me. Now, as I watched the discussion online, I was surprised by the commentary, because some people said, oh, nothing should happen to him. Oh, what y'all should do is pay the police more. Almost as if the reason why this allegedly could be happening is because the police force is not paying the officers enough to do the jobs. So that brings in another conversation about, is that an issue? Do police officers require higher salaries to avoid the temptation of corruption?
I want to pause you right there, though. But
Yes.
can that not be applied to every other profession where someone says, well, hey, I'm working in this profession and I'm not getting paid enough, therefore I'm going to go out there and commit a crime?
Well, it's true. I mean, we have concerns. I mean, the judicial officer's pay needs to be revised. You know, we have just raised attorneys' scales of fees. I think that at the end of the day, you always have to keep under review that you're attracting the best and the brightest, and you don't subject people to undue pressure. There's no excuse for corruption.
Right.
But it is a conversation that will always come up when people say that I may have wanted to articulate my citizenship through working with the police force, but I have to feed a family. Right. And you cannot hold people hostage to their desire for public service. So it is important that people appreciate that we do have to look at what these people are paid and what they're asked to do on our behalf. That is real.
Right. And Miranda, you talked about, is it the Meta glasses?
Yes.
Tell us about these glasses, because I mean, is there a law somewhere that states that you cannot record somebody without them knowing? How does that work?
Well, I know there is something on the glasses, I think like a blinking light. So if you are aware, which I think in the Bahamas we're not as aware of the technology as maybe available in the first world countries. So you may see persons with these glasses and there is a light blinking, so that if you, the person, see the light blinking, you should know that you're being recorded. But you have to be aware that this is really what it is. And if you're not aware, you may just, not even pay attention to it.
Right.
But this also highlights another issue, which is that, over $2 million has been invested into the police force to wear these body cams. And a lot of times we see that the officers are not wearing the body cams, which is an issue I had brought up earlier, I think, on the segment that we did about the opposition, almost that it appeared that the Royal Bahamas Police Force officers, some of them seem to have with wearing the body cam. And I said, well, why would you be, so opposed to it? And again, this situation made me then think and highlight, well, maybe this is one of the reasons. Right. A lot of the behavior or actions that may or may not be happening, you may not want to be recorded on these body cams that you have no control over.
Right, right. Speaking of cameras, I see you're wearing a camera. I'm just checking to see if there's no lights blinking. Sorry, on your glasses, recording us. But what happens next in a case like this, though? What happens next for this individual?
Yes. Well, there is a code of conduct. We say that there should be a disciplinary procedure. Right. We understand that the officers involved are under investigation. So we hope that the public is kept aware of what happens. We do have a stake in knowing what is the outcome of the situation, because it is, tourism is something, our number one industry. We are concerned about corruption. We want to know that if these things are occurring, that they're being dealt with.
And I also think it's time for more transparent civilian oversight of the disciplined forces. It should not be such a closed house. There should be clear, independent insight and action and participation in how we supervise the police and regulate their conduct and assess it.
Yeah.
To remove that question.
Yeah. Let's talk about the tourist, though, in this case, and the rights of the tourist in this case. What happens there? Because this was published online by the individual, right? By the tourist. So what happens there?
Well, I think that you have a right to record interactions, in the public space. I wouldn't say that there's anything in if he didn't have this recording, it would be his word against somebody else's word. I don't discourage recording interactions. I think that if you are discharging a lawful function, you should not be afraid of scrutiny in that regard. I think that is, I would never say anything that I think that would discourage somebody for protecting themselves, particularly if you're by yourself or if you're a woman alone in these situations. Yes. Not ascribing any malice to the other side, but it gives a sense of comfort. And that's the age we're in. I always tell people, move through this world like you're being recorded. Yeah. We have cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't think that you should be hypersensitive to that.
And we say thank God, thank God that we now are in an age where these interactions can be recorded, because they should be recorded. That was the purpose of the investment in the body camera that have been supplied to the police officers. So people have their social media posts and they're allowed to use it. And it's a great tool, I would say, to use in the fight against corruption.
And as for the tourist, having published the information, I hope that they would participate in any investigation that flows forward.
Yes, he should be a part of the investigation. His point of view should be heard and said, and we as the public should be aware of the outcome of that. I would say, to whom much is given. The police have an extreme amount of power. They're allowed to carry arms. They're allowed to arrest persons. They're allowed to execute search warrants. There comes a great responsibility, and we have to make sure that they are operating at the highest levels of responsibility. Yeah,
we're just about out of time, but I have to ask this question. From where you stand, would you say that there's corruption in our police force?
I think that, again, you have to dial it back. Again, I would not isolate the police force as an institution. We read the papers, there are questions answered, and the problem we have is that there's often accusation or resignation and investigation without conclusion. And so I think that it is about the society we are creating. Yes. If we don't create the institutions, if we don't create the platforms and the procedures to root out corruption, then you are ignoring the nature of man. Yeah. So I think that to say that there are police officers who fall short, we have a disciplinary process at the bar. So I don't think to say that there's corruption in the police force is damnation to the police force. It's very important as a society, from the top down, that we create the tools to root it out and to demonstrate that it is being rooted out.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you all on. Thank you so much, and all the best for this new year, right?
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Bahamas at Sunrise. Be sure to follow the law. We'll be right back.